My name is Michael O'Hara.
My name is Fernanda Yescas.
My name is Ben Brainerd.
I'm Diego.
I'm Laner.
My name is Zeke Randall.
Fausto Rasso.
My name is Elliot.
Daniel Rodriguez.
Charity Kinsella.
Hi, my name is Emmy.
Delaney.
Andrew Choi.
Zach Wu.
Braden.
My favorite movie is probably Death Becomes Her.
My favorite movie is Sinners.
My favorite movie is probably The Lighthouse by Robert Eggers.
Before Sunset.
My favorite movie is 9.
Parasite.
My favorite movie, I would say, is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Bit of a toss-up, but as of right now, it'd probably have to be Shin Godzilla.
Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
My favorite movie is Whiplash.
I think my favorite movie has got to be Cameron Crowe's Rock Odyssey, Almost Famous.
At the moment, I do feel Twisters.
I think it used to be Moonrise Kingdom, but I think Marty Supreme is now my favorite movie.
I'd say The Menu.
My favorite movie is Chainsaw Man, Reze Arc. I definitely had a lot of anticipation going into the theaters because there's a lot of different things that I wanted to see when I'm watching an anime movie. It's hard to get an anime movie perfect, but this one kind of surpassed my expectations in that it hit every single bar that I wanted it to.
It takes a very different direction than most other Godzilla movies, at least more so the ones I grew up with, being like the MonsterVerse ones and the old, I think it was 2001. It treats itself a lot more like a disaster movie and focuses more on the Japanese government's response to said disaster in a very bureaucratic way.
I think it's my favorite movie for a couple reasons. It is uniquely in this zone of things that I like, where it's about sort of the ocean and like the depths and depravity of like human nature, and also it is such a simple premise on the surface. If you ignore like the message it's trying to tell you, I think it looks great. I mean, the coloring is very unique from other movies. It's more like cool tones and blues and darks that I like the vibe of, and
It's very cinematic, and I think after I watched it, it made me want to travel more.
I think I started off as a drummer. Like, I used to play drums, and I don't know, I just kind of like a lot of the music that has the soundtrack and overall just the lighting. I don't know, it went crazy with this yellow feeling throughout the whole movie.
I love an evil woman. Not only do I love an evil woman, I love an evil woman in love with another evil woman, and they make each other worse forever. Enemies to lovers relationship over some chud man that they both hate and always have.
Honestly, I feel like it just kept me suspenseful the whole time. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I really liked the uneasiness, and I also liked the message.
I guess it was the way I felt leaving the movie theater. I don't know. It was profound for me.
I think I just really love the concept of it. I think it's something that, especially for the horror and thriller genre, that we really haven't seen that much of, especially with how it ties in historical significance along with, I guess, the cheesiness of it being a vampire movie, because midway through the movie I forgot that I was watching a vampire movie.
I distinctly remember seeing a trailer for it when I was maybe 8 or 7, and I just remember the letters were 999. It came out September 9th, 2009, and that was a big deal for me. It is, I think, if you go back and watch it, the animation is slightly dated, but I think for the time, it was really incredible. And it's very clearly, I feel like when it was pitched, it was supposed to be stop motion, but for what it is, for it being completely 3D, it was incredible.
I'm a huge believer in it's a controversial take. Well, it's not even that controversial. It's where it's entertainment is entertainment. It's you gotta find emotional, a movie's gotta move you emotionally and entertain you. And I feel like that entire movie, I was just engaged. It's just funny. It's about a guy just being a Giga Chad.
I like Before Sunset because it's so simple. It's just two people talking about their relationship, even though they're not in a relationship, and just walking through a beautiful city. And it's so simple, and the script does all the work, and still it's so nuanced, and you get to meet these people as they're meeting each other, and I just think that's beautiful.
I like the movie because of the message that it gives, where if everything doesn't matter, it's just kind of what life you put into meaning, where if nothing matters, that also means everything matters at the same time. So that is a very nice message from that movie that I really like.
Growing up, I always seemed to really like coming of age stories. There was something about the journey that really fascinated me, and that one's really unique in the way of someone who feels fundamentally different than the people he's around, kind of going on a journey and then coming back with the knowledge that everything's going to be okay, that life is going to go on, and that he's going to continue making great experiences even if he feels different from the crowd. Something comforting about that. It's an interesting insight into a political landscape that I'm not really familiar with, and one that's not necessarily relevant to me.
A perfect depiction of classism. And it shows like a huge wealth disparity in both Korea, but also in life, in that there's some problems with certain amounts of things being given to one party and not the other. And it's just this beautiful story. And then there's this other scene where he uses this rock to beat this guy to death, but the rock is supposed to be a symbol of wealth and prosperity, but to the poor guy, it's just a rock for beating somebody.
I mean, I feel like the biggest highlight of the movie is like probably when Madeline falls down the stairs and then her neck is twisted back.
And it's this movie about just passion, but also just the I don't know, you can compare it with like Black Swan or something like that, that it's just the things you miss out when you're trying to reach that goal.
So first of all, the intro sequence was astounding, and it had, just like all the other Chainsaw Man like videos and edits and intros and outros, it has a lot of like what are they called? The callbacks, or not callbacks. It's got a lot of Easter eggs.
Pretty much, it was just like a big. I'll say it was it felt in a way like a protest. Like it was like talking about like a lot of like. I think one part that I liked was one of the characters. Like he talked so much about how he loved everything about cooking. He could answer all these little questions, but he himself didn't cook. And I like how like the main chef, how it just pissed him off. This guy just talks like he knows all this shit, but he can't produce anything on his own. Like when he made him like cook, and he's like trying.
And I think the way that they depict Greenland and Iceland and the way that they filmed those different locations was really inspirational to me. Like the cinematography combined with the music and the production. And I like Ben Stiller as an actor too. I think he's very versatile,
Shot very well. Freaking the sounds were just stressing you out the entire time. Go movie. I just loved it.
The music in it was also peak. It had Hawatari something or other during the car chase scene. I don't know if you remember that. But then it was also so like heart-wrenchingly in the moment, and I was in there with him watching a movie in a movie, and I was like feeling the emotions of Denji so much, and then going in after the movie's over and then seeing even more and like being happy to be able to watch it again. Oh, that's how you know a good movie.
And you have, I think, like really boiled down, like it's two guys in this movie for the most part. And I think on paper that's a difficult like challenge to like make a really interesting movie with just two guys like interacting with each other. But it's my favorite because one, just stellar performances from the two actors that are in it, and then also the themes that it touches on, and how open to interpretation it is. And like it's very kind of, I think, vague in a lot of places, but it's also like freaky and weird.
And the storytelling, the plot beats like have stuck with me so much. And the character, what do you call it? Like the caricatures of everyone is just like so ingrained in my brain because they have every stereotype under the sun. There's 9 little dolls and they're all just random little pieces of one person. And there's like a jock character and like the autistic one that's like the signs. And he's my favorite. 6 is my favorite doll. He has like, his nails are ink wells and ink pen tips, and he just like dips his hands in ink and then like draws the signs and the sigils and whatever. And he's the crazy like spiritual one.
Like the music, the way it sounded. I guess in the movie theater, it was like all around you, and it just like the music. It was definitely my 2025 Spotify rap top.
The very first activation, I guess, of Godzilla's atomic breath, the music score behind it, the sequence, just the cinematography, it's one of the most gorgeous scenes in the entire movie, and one that has stuck with me ever since my initial viewing of the movie.
When they're traveling through their parallel lives of different multiverses, and they're going through different like art styles and everything, and they just end up as rocks. And at that like point, it's like, damn. And the mother Evelyn, slowly approaches her daughter every so slightly, but they're rocks. So it's like, what are you doing? Just be a rock. But I like that entire sequence about that, where it's her mother trying to get closer to her daughter and trying to understand her.
It surprises you so many times, and I'm on the edge of my seat, and I get a little scared at some points. Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy that movie. The birthday scene at the end is wild, and then the end scene where he kind of becomes the thing that at first he was mocking, but then he realizes he's been that the whole time.
Probably the scene when they're in Celine's apartment, because that's the first time we ever see a place where they live at. And we actually get to see a little of her personality, her hobbies, and what she likes. And it's one of the most like intimate scenes in that movie, I would say. So I really like that one.
It was just like even though it was like a horror, like suspense, like movie, I felt like there was like a message, like kind of like hating all the people who like judge other things without them like really producing anything. Yeah, it's just like because people are gonna judge everything, but they themselves like can't do it. It's like if you know so much about this, like you do it. We'll see how you do.
That scene where him and the groupie character that he's kind of chasing after the whole movie, and they're parting at the airport, and I don't know, I feel like that understanding between the two characters that is sort of off the entire story. There's sort of a synthesis there that I think the movie's been building up to the entire time, and at that point you get the feeling that both of them have come a long way, and things have changed between them, but ultimately for the better, even though they're parting.
I remember I was like 10 when it came out, and because it's PG-13, I was not allowed to see it, and I remember being so mad and upset that I never got to see it in theaters. To this day, I think it would be one of the most fantastic movies to see in theaters.
I think I knew it was going to be like one of my favorites, at least if not my favorite, when sort of the moment where like the breaking point in between Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, when it's kind of the events in the movie have come to a head and they have been out of supplies for a great deal of time, and there's this confrontation that comes between the two of them where Willem Dafoe's character calls into question the not just like Robert Pattinson's but the audience's like view of how things have progressed, and implies that it's been a much longer period of time than it has been.
Or when I can't remember the other main girl's name right now, but Madeline shoots her with a shotgun and she has a hole in her stomach, and it was like one of the earlier times I think that they did that kind of effect where you can see through her, and I think it's just because in the musical I like when they're singing the song and Madeline goes, "I can see right through you."
I think it's cheap to say, but it's the ending scene, just when he comes back, and it's J.K. Simmons bringing him just to humiliate him in front of all these people, and just overall, it's, I don't know, just the passion and just, I don't give a shit. I'll show you what I can do for what you taught me, and also like I'm gonna go all out at that point of the film, and it's the ending, just scene.
I think my favorite scene is when they're showing the guy in the bathtub with his little dog, and they just fell through the freaking roof. Because it was just this moment of like, oh, you know, like things are kind of calming down. Okay, we're finally getting a little breath, because the entire movie just has you stressed with like intense stuff going on. You're like, okay, we're getting a breath now. Boom! The guy just falls to the freaking ceiling, and oh, my freaking arm is all destroyed. It's just like just this moment of just chaos in the middle, just so unexpected. It was awesome. I loved it.
I don't know. I like the story. I like the way it made me feel. I felt more connected to the characters than I have in a lot of movies, I guess, as a college student. You know, I don't know. It felt very nice. The first moment was so shocking, if you remember. Yeah, the first moment was so shocking. I don't want to say that was the best moment, but it was like, I don't know. I think it was like the good start. And then
Set the mood.
yeah, and then I think just the music all throughout, just like, yeah, it hit the spot for all the scenes. It was perfect.
When he sees this point he has to go to, and it's like all downhill, and he like picks up this hobby that he used to do when he was a kid, but he kind of forgot about, you know, through the melancholiness of life. And so he skateboards down this like windy hill, and I think they filmed that shot in Greenland. But it's really cool. He like puts rocks on his palms, and then he like straps it on, and he's like going around this bend, and the music is really cool. And I think they used a stunt double for part of it, but like it was just like afterwards you're like, well, that was really cool.
There's a part early on in the movie where you think everything is over. You think the big bad monster is dead and gone, and suddenly it comes over the hill, and all these characters that think they've won and think that they have peace are like that. Peace is just destroyed, and there's, I think it's Somewhere Over the Rainbow is playing on a turntable. Six gets got, and as he's being like dragged back by the monster, he like turns and he's accepted it, because Six the whole time is like very in tune with this monster, and he turns back and he's like, the source, you have to get back to the source. And then he like turns and accepts his fate, and that was the first time as a child I'd ever seen a character have that like accepted fate moment.
There's a guy that lives beneath the house, and he's like paying homage almost to the rich guy that lives there by turning on the lights as he walks in the house, almost like they're on a timer. And if I remember correctly, I think he's like banging his head on the light switch. But at the time, it's happened like 2 or 3 times in the movies before that, where you've seen these lights come on in that same way. And it's like, I thought it was a timer. I just didn't pay it. I was like, oh, it's just not a big deal or whatever. I don't think about it.
And it makes you, like, the character feel to an extent, but also the audience, like you as the viewer, like, kind of interpret your entire view of what's been going on, and doubt everything that you've been seeing, which I think is super, super cool, and is very like horrifying. And then they like drink a bunch and like are dancing and are singing, and then like they nearly like kiss at one point, and it's just like there's so many layers to like their interactions. I think it's very like honestly funny at times to watch, and then like also you'll feel like sort of the dread, and it's just 2 guys, which is really impressive, I think.
Dude, it's got to be Beam when okay, so Chainsaw Man, so Chainsaw Man, like, pretty much is about to die. He's about to get exploded by the bomb devil and his heart eaten. And then Beam out of nowhere, like, comes and saves him. And I was like, oh, I don't even remember you! And I thought Beam was annoying because in the first season, he was, like, really obnoxious. And also, he looks really ugly. And then this movie was, like, he was my favorite character by far. and he was always in the background. And
it wasn't necessarily a specific moment, but the scenes where they showed the Asian family in the bookstore, or not bookstore, the grocery store, and then they had 2 stores, because the one thing, and I didn't realize this until I saw an analysis of it later on, because at the time everything was segregated. So you had in those towns, it literally one side was all black and then the other side was all white. So Asian families were kind of in the middle. So they had a store on both sides of the street to cater to both parties of people, which I thought a cool little, thing that was put in there that I think initially watching, I didn't realize it at first, but it again ties into the significance of the historical time period and everything that was going on in America at the time. Man, put me on the spot.